Tina Stapleton from the U.S. Department of Education's Institute of Education Sciences, where we fund research to improve academic achievement and access to educational opportunities for all students. Welcome to the 8th Annual EdGames Expo, a week-long showcase of game-changing education technology innovations that were developed with the support of the U.S. Department of Education and other federal agencies. As part of this year's Expo, a group of the country's leading education technology developers have produced a series of 20-minute masterclass for educator videos, each of which presents models or examples of how to implement a technology-based intervention in a classroom or a remote setting. As you may know, computer science skills are in high demand for careers today and in the future. Therefore, it is important that technology-based interventions are available and feasible to deliver to K-12 students. It is equally important that these interventions are appealing to all types of students in order to encourage more students to pursue STEM-related careers such as computer science and coding. Today's masterclass features VidCode, an online coding platform and curriculum for schools that was specifically developed to appeal as strongly to girls as to boys. Using VidCode, students learn to code through creating videos, games, and special effects. The VidCode platform was developed in part with support from the U.S. Department of Education, Institute of Education Sciences, SBIR program. After the masterclass, stay tuned and join me for an engaging Q&A between VidCode co-founders and a group of K-12 educators.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the VidCode Masterclass. Today we're going to be walking you through how I would prepare for a class using VidCode to teach computer programming through creativity. Today we're going to be doing Code the News while introducing the idea of loops and conditionals to a class. My name is Leandra, and I am the Chief Product Officer and co-founder at VidCode.
Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Alexandra, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of VidCode. VidCode is an online coding platform and curriculum for schools in upper elementary, middle, and high school. Alexandra and I met at a hackathon. We teamed up with a shared passion to build an online coding platform that appeals as strongly to teen girls as it does to teen boys. VidCode is unique in how we leverage multimedia to teach coding. So your students will be able to upload photos and videos from either school projects or their life, immediately begin manipulating those artifacts with code. My co-founder Leandra will be leading you through how to teach live coding to a classroom of kids today.
You're going to see learning outcomes around loops, around conditionals. VidCode has done a number of pilot studies and feasibility studies. We've seen learning outcomes in as little as 10 hours around core computer science concepts. To create an account on VidCode, start by going to vidcode.com, and you'll have a couple options here. You can click I'm an educator down on the bottom left, or create account on the top right. I'll go to create account. I'll choose my role as a teacher or educator. And then from here, I can sign up with Google or Microsoft, or just create an email and password. I'll start off on my dashboard, and I'll make sure that the course that I'm doing is assigned. This course is going to be Hour of Code. We have some courses like Hour of Code that are free forever, and some, like the JavaScript pathway, that are available with the subscription. Down in Lesson Plans and Resources, I can see Hour of Code 2020 under my assigned courses. I'm going to open that up and go down to Code the News. From here, I can see a time breakdown. I can see all the standards that it's aligned to, as well as a background on the topic. So in this case, we're learning about conditionals or if-else statements, which is a really core component of programming. If I go down to the bottom, some of the more useful things here include like background information, sharing prompts, so students can talk about their work in a meaningful way, and sample solutions. Sample solutions are great. I can use them to show students what we'll be making before class start. I can also use them as a debugging tool and pull them up and compare this code to students' code if they run into an issue. Once class is over, I can go ahead and go into the dashboard here. This is going to give me insight into what my students have done. So I can see the ones who finished Code the News versus the ones who just started it. And I can also see their work. So I can go over to Sketches here and open up these different sketches. But this project has all of the elements that I would expect. It has this loop here. It has this animation that's making the headline animate, and it has this conditional that loops this lyric background to the beginning. We are going to start this class with a group of fifth graders who have been coding with VidCode's Coding Club for about 6 months. We are going to be going into conditionals, and we're going to be using Hour of Code 2020. If you don't see this course, just make sure you go in to Course Library and assign it. Hi everyone, welcome to coding class today. I'm Leandra, I am going to be your teacher, and we are going to be coding the news. This is a really fun activity. We're going to be using loops, which is how things run over and over again, and we're going to be using conditionals, which is how you kind of give computers instructions. And we're going to be combining those different concepts to make a news broadcast saying something that we want to say to the world. So let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't have VidCode accounts, I'm going to be posting a link to sign up in the chat.
How do we sign in? It says, should we sign in with Google or sign up with Office 365?
Do you have like a Google account with school?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, you can use that one. All right, I see Liam, I see Ayan, I see Al. Cool. So we're actually going to take a step back now that everyone's signed in. I'm going to go ahead and introduce what we're going to be learning today. So I'm going to go over an introduction. We're going to talk about conditionals, and then we're going to start coding. So let me go ahead and share my screen so you all can see that. So we've already learned about variables, which are containers for different objects in JavaScript. The same way we would hold like candy or food in like a plastic container, we can hold like numbers and objects and data like that in variables. So basically Code the News is a step beyond that, where we can use conditional logic to start to edit those different objects. So we're going to be using code that looks kind of like this. So here the movie's getting created. Here we have our rectangle, our text, and then this is where the actual programming logic happens. We're going to be using these things called repeat loops that let our code run over and over and over again. And we're going to be using conditionals or if-else statements. So here it is, to add logic to our project, to tell it what to do, to give it instructions. So here's one example. And you can see when it scrolls to a certain point, it goes back to the beginning. And that's because there's this conditional telling it what to do. So this is going to be just an introduction to them, but you can add as many conditionals into your projects as you want. So you can make these really complicated projects. You can make like choose your own adventure stories. You can make like quizzes. You can make AI projects. There's all kinds of possibilities because you can just add like infinite programming logic to your code. Here's another example. So this one, Greendale Middle School students learn to code. You can see it here, the repeat function, the headline animating, and then that conditional if statement. And this one's cool because this school is actually using a news announcement to announce that they're coding. So like you saw outside, if statements are just a way to give instructions to your computer. So to only do something if a particular statement is true. It's really no different than the way you think about things. For example, if it's raining outside, I'll bring an umbrella. If I was trying to program myself, my own brain to choose my outfit that day, I might check certain things. I might check if it's over 50 degrees, grab a sweater or don't grab a sweater. If it's raining outside, grab rain boots or grab sneakers. All of these different things that I'm sort of doing on my own, if I break them down into individual parts, I can think of them as a program. The actual structure of a conditional looks like this on the bottom. So it always says if. So the same way you would talk to a person, if it's raining, grab rain boots. I'm telling my computer if, and then the actual rule is in parentheses. So if my grade as a student is over 90, then the program tells me great job. You can put basically anything in these conditions. So I kind of wish these were hidden, but 5 is in fact greater than 4. So that would be true and that condition would run. 10 is less than 2, is not less than 2. So that condition would be false and wouldn't run. And we can also compare things to see if they're the same. So in this case, if I want to see if I already have my rain boots, for example, I could use these double equal signs to do something like that. So this will make more sense once we actually start using it in a coding context. But this is just a quick introduction about how you can think of programming conditionals as a program. So let's go ahead and actually get started coding here. Go ahead and open up VidCode, and then give me a thumbs up in the chat when you've joined and have the same screen that I do. So for those of you who are new to VidCode, this is where we spend a lot of our time in Coding Club. This is the code editor. So this is where all the magic happens. So there's always going to be instructions here where you can go through them on your own, but it's kind of fun when we do them together. There's a code editor here. I'm going to walk you through what to type here to make all the magic happen. There's going to be a canvas here. This is where everything is going to run live. And then down here is our media gallery. So this is where you're going to have all these different news broadcasts where you can record yourself if you want to have like a news with you talking or something like that. But for now, I'm just going to use the news anchors that we have here. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't know if anyone has ideas about what they want their news broadcast to say, but think about that. I am going to actually make a news broadcast about this masterclass, which is going to be kind of fun. So when you choose your video, we have this woman here, we have these people, we have Santa. You can go ahead and just drag it into your code editor, and it's going to appear live here on the right. So it's actually these 2 lines of code that is making that happen, that's making Santa appear. So if I changed this number, like this text here, to be anchor 2 instead, it'll update. So go ahead and choose which video you want. You'll notice that they're not actually saying anything. So it's kind of up to us to add the text that they're going to be saying. And we're going to be doing that with a text object. So go ahead and, do you see how there's this text button on the bottom left here? Go ahead and drag that into your code editor. And you're going to see a bunch of text appear. So this is your code that's actually making the hello, the text appear on your canvas. So it's broken up into this variable that's actually holding the text object and going to let us edit it later. The name of the variable, I could make this anything I wanted. It's really just for me as a person to like know what's inside of it. And then we have this text object. So this, if I change what's in here, for example, it's going to update what actually gets displayed on my canvas. So let's go ahead and change some of the different properties. There's this cool feature in VidCode, the reference, where I could click on my text and go to full reference. And it's going to give me on the left here all of the different ways that I can customize this text object. So you can see I can change the X position, the Y position, the color, the size, the rotation if I wanted to. That could get kind of crazy. So I'm going to do that with just the Y position. So I'm going to go ahead and write headline.x, or sorry, headline.y, and set that equal to like 200. So can someone unmute and tell me, I want it to start a little bit to the right. Can someone tell me what code I would write to move my headline so it's starting maybe like over here?
It should be headline.x because the X positions goes to left and right.
Exactly. Yeah. So if Y goes up and down, X goes left and right. That was perfect. So I'm going to be using headline.x, and then I'm going to move it to about 300. So it starts a little bit off, a little bit to the right. And then we can also change the size with just headline.size. 55 is the default. I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller. So I'm going to pause here and give me a thumbs up once you have your text looking the way that you want it before we start going into logic or anything like that. While we're waiting, does anyone want to share what they have so far? They can share their screens. Cool. So can you tell us some of what you did here?
So I'm just bringing it down by 50s and 25s.
Okay, awesome. That looks great. Thank you so much for sharing. So the first thing we're going to do is take this rectangle block that's on the bottom left and just drag it into our code editor. So do you see these 4 numbers that are getting passed into this code? This is, and you can kind of see it if you click on rect here. This is the X position, the Y position, the width of my rectangle, and then the height. So I'm going to go ahead and move my rectangle using these different properties so that it's at the bottom of my video and behind my text. But there's a problem here. Can someone unmute and tell me what the problem is on my code or like on my project? Go ahead, Liam.
The text is not on the rectangle.
Right? Yeah. Why is that? The text is the rectangle is covering the text, right?
Because you put the text first, then the rectangle.
Okay, exactly. So how would I fix it?
By swapping their orders.
Smart. Okay, cool. You were exactly right. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this and move it all the way up here to line 4. And there it is. It works. You were exactly right. And that's because my code is read in order, the same way that you or I would read a book. So it's this idea in computer science called sequencing. So my computer reads all the way down and adds these different effects to my video as it does. So it adds the video, and then it adds the headline box, like the actual background, and then it adds the text. So when that was in a different order, it wasn't showing up. So go ahead and finish, customize your headline, make your box look really the way that you want it to. And once that is all ready, we're going to go into the most exciting part of the tutorial, which is actually adding logic and adding animation. So go ahead and share your screen and kind of walk us through your code, what you have so far. What? This looks great. What is all the stuff that you've added? Can you talk us through it?
I added a graphic and then, I added a graphic and another text. So there's like a pizza floating in the air.
Cool. How did you know how to edit the different graphic properties?
I looked at reference.
That's awesome. This is really cool. So now we're going to be using conditionals. This is what I talked about in the beginning. This is what so much of programming logic is based on. So we're going to be saying if our headline is off the screen, bring it back. So the syntax looks like this. It looks like if something in here, and then an open curly brace, and then a closed curly brace. So I can say if headline dot x, so this is pulling out the headline dot x like number. It's like returning what the number is. And I'm going to say if it's less than -100, and nothing's going to happen yet, right? Because I haven't told it what to do here. But at this point, I just want it to return to where it was originally. I would write the same thing that I do to set the original position. So if everything is working properly, this little bit of code should check if my headline is at an X position of -100, and then should put it back to where it was in the beginning. So that's really the end. Once everyone is ready to publish their project, when you're done, just go ahead and press this submit button to submit your project to the dashboard, and then we can share.
If you want it to completely go off the screen, you can do -400. I mean, I did if headline.x less than -400, headline.x equals 400.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because right now mine doesn't go all the way off the screen, but you would expect like a news anchor broadcast kind of to go all the way. So let me change it to 400 and make it a little bit faster. Yeah, there we go. That's a lot better. So can everyone go ahead and submit their projects? And then we're going to share really quick. So I'm pulling up Liam's project now. Yay, this is awesome. VidCode Coding Club meets again. And then it goes all the way off the screen and goes back to the beginning. So I really like your colors here. I like how you have the rectangle all the way in the bottom. You have this nice opacity. Thank you so much for sharing. Did you learn anything in this project?
I learned more about if function, if statement.
That's awesome. Yeah,
This
so
is
this
kind of weird seeing the same exact thing over and over again.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing. I see a hand up. Do you have a question or do you want to share?
Opacity is not working.
Okay, here, do you want to share your screen again?
I put opacity, but it's still.
Okay, so this is because you have to move that to after you've created your headline box. Okay, yeah, so add a closed curly brace.
You mean this?
So like the curly bracket. So I'm gonna post it in the chat like that.
And then I do this.
Yeah, perfect. Does anyone else want to share their project? Yeah, can you share your project with me? Just share the URL and I can take a look. Oh my gosh, I like this one so much. So we have someone has stolen the last slice of pizza and the last scoop of ice cream. I love these boxes here. These are super funny. I love that you added your own graphics. I love these variable names too. Pizza, question mark, scoop. We have question mark 1 here, which is awesome because programmers start counting at 0. So it totally makes sense that there's question mark and then question mark 1. And then in your actual repeat function, you have all these tabbed in. So your code is super, super organized. This is perfect. So thank you all so much for coming. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited for us to start a conversation with VidCode co-founders, Ali and Leandra, and 2 esteemed educators. Ali and Leandra, would you like to introduce yourself first, followed by Art and Marianne?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Ali. I'm co-founder and CEO of VidCode. And I met Leandra at a hackathon in New York City, where we both teamed up to build an online coding platform that is as appealing to teen girls as it is to teen boys, and also leverages multimedia as the canvas for the coding itself. And so with that, I will pass it to Leandra.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leandra. I am the co-founder and chief product officer at VidCode. Ali and I have been working together for 7 years now, really focused on tying creativity and student personal expression to computer science and learning to code. And we're really excited to be here at the EdCamps Expo today.
Art?
Yeah, hi, my name is Art Lopez, and I am a District TOSA, a curriculum specialist for computer science for the Sweetwater Union High School District. I'm also a project manager for a Department of Education grant called Coding Our Future in connection with my colleagues from the University of California, San Diego, and with the San Diego Unified School District. I'm also a board of director member for the Computer Science Teachers Association. I am the 9th through 12th grade high school representative. And I'm also the president of the Computer Science Teachers Association chapter for the county of San Diego.
And Marianne?
Hi, my name is Marianne Alcaro, and I work for a small private Catholic school in Pennsylvania for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. My students are very, very excited about learning computer science. I just added VidCode to my business meeting in the mornings, and they're super excited about it. So thank you for having me here.
So let's open it up to questions. Art and Marianne?
One of the questions I had was that when I saw the video for the conditional statements and also going through the use of the variables, I noticed that it jumped into a function and using a loop, a repeat. I'm not familiar with JavaScript, but what I thought was it was really unique. I thought it was really good following along the steps that you were demonstrating in the video, but I got a bit confused about jumping into the repeat function, and I had not seen that before within the video. So am I assuming that that function was previously explained in another video?
Yeah, that's a great question. So these students, the students in the video, had been coding with VidCode at Club last year. They've been with us for about probably 3 or 4 months on and off. And so conditionals don't get introduced in VidCode until the 4th JavaScript course or unit, depending on how you're teaching. So first we've introduced functions and variables, and then we introduce arrays, and then we introduce loops, and then once we have loops, we introduce conditionals, because at least on VidCode, to use like a conditional over time, it needs to be inside a loop. So you're 100% right. We would never introduce conditionals in a loop without introducing loops first, in like a class where we had more time with the kids.
Okay, thanks. That really clarified it for me, because I was following along the video, was doing it, and I'm going, whoa, wait a minute, what? I didn't get the repeat part. I was able to figure it out, but I felt like I just jumped into the middle of something, but I'm glad you clarified that for me.
Yeah, a repeat loop is specific to VidCode. It's very inspired by the way Scratch does loops. We introduce loops later on that are like more generic JavaScript loops, like for loops, while loops. But this is sort of the first loop students learn on VidCode in like a super general way.
Okay, thanks.
I really liked how you gave the kids a chance to explore your work, and you were open to them changing some of your ideas, and I thought that was really exceptional. And I'm just wondering, how would I go about getting my students to have the opportunity to work with you like that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think so. One of the things that we do is record a lot of videos as exemplars, but also that like educators will use when students get stuck. And those are all up on our YouTube. And so those are great if students are struggling with the self-guided tutorials. They're able to go to the part of the video where they're getting stuck and like watch how a group would walk through it. We sometimes do like clubs and events, but the goal is that like any educator will be able to step in and use the lesson plans that we've created with experts to be able to like run a similar class and a similar experience. Like I am not like a teacher by background, so I lean super heavily on our curriculum experts and those lesson plans that they've put together to be able to do what I did in that video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that, and it was interesting because you gave the kids, you empowered them. So then I noticed that they started to explore like your reference tools in order to go to the next level. And you were very supportive of that. And so that's one of the things that I would like to encourage in my own students, because they're not very familiar with computer science. It's a traditional setting. So bringing this to them would be very valuable. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, a big thing that we do is have students, and you saw this in the video, share their work at the end of class. So give them all an opportunity to showcase what they've created. And then they are like more motivated during class because they know that at the end they're going to have this moment where they can show off what they made. But it also gives them a chance to learn from each other. So maybe they're not someone who would open the reference on their own. They just don't really know what it is. If we have a sharing session at the end of class, and let's say we did make a meme, and one student has like rotated text or a rotated graphic, and we don't teach that in that lesson. So I'll have them showcase their projects, and I'll ask them, I'll say, how did you know to do this? Where did you find this property? And then they have the opportunity to talk about finding the reference and how they use it. So they're learning it from each other and not from the instructor.
So, Allie, I took coding in elementary school, and then it sort of faded away. I know you guys say that you put together VidCode so that it's especially engaging to girls. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, most definitely. So, yeah, when Leandra and I originally teamed up, how we really approached building a platform that was engaging for teen girls is to really test the platform with them first and foremost. So we ended up testing it with around 150 students in the first 4 months of building the website. And so I think we just lent an extra ear to girls as we were building it, just to make sure any gaps were filled. And oftentimes when we interviewed students, whether they were boys or girls, it was especially on the girl side where we found gaps in terms of the types of projects they could create and how much it related to their life outside of school. And so that's where we really came to multimedia as a solution that spoke really to all kids and to a broad range of kids, and allowed them to create coding projects that still integrated other subject areas and interests both inside and outside of STEM, so that it'd be relatable for everyone. So I think in our mission to make it engaging for girls, it really allowed us to just really open up a curriculum that uses metaphors and project prompts that relate to a really broad range of students. And all kids today are using videos and expressing themselves with that. So we were really excited to approach that avenue.
Well, I hope you don't mind if I'd like to jump in and ask another question. I've gotten involved with computer science education because I wanted to broaden participation, especially with underrepresented and underserved groups in computer science, and women are certainly a part of that, but also diversity. And one of the subgroups that really gets left behind, I believe anyways, in computer science ed is the English language learner. And I noticed that a lot of the challenges faced by English language learners in syntactical languages is the fact that they get caught up with the syntax, the rules, and the grammars. So I'm just wondering if there's specific things that you may be able to use in VidCode that may be able to address the challenges with English language learners by chance.
Yeah, so there are a few things that come to mind. The first is, as far as the actual courses and tutorials, we do have Spanish versions of our courses. So that solves part of the problem, that it's hard to learn a new language and also follow instructions in that language at the same time. But it doesn't solve the problem of, if English is not my first language, it's hard to be able to know how to spell function. And is that what I'm doing wrong, or is it more of a logical issue? We try and have really friendly debugging resources. So things that highlight the word, things that speak to students in plain, plain text, plain English, check the spelling of this word. Did you mean function? And so I feel like we lean really heavily on a really strong debugging tool to help them with the syntax side of things. Allie, do you have anything to add?
No, I would just add it's something that we're always looking to improve. And yeah, just the visual elements of the platform is so powerful, and we do try to keep the language very colloquial, and the metaphors, really relatable for all. And then lastly, we're actually collaborating, with various curriculum teams that specialize in ESL. And so actually this year, that's something that we're building out, is taking our core curriculum and really adding a layer that focuses on ESL teachers and students. So it's actually just kind of a part of our curriculum map right now as well. So thanks for that question.
Yeah, I think that's really super cool. I think the efforts that you're making with VidCode and trying to reach underserved and underrepresented groups it's great. I for one really appreciate that effort coming through from VidCode.
Thank you.
I have another question that I just wanted to weave in, if that's okay. I noticed in my own classroom that there's a select few boys who are very gung-ho about computer science and coding. And so I'm really trying to get the ladies in the room to step up and not let the boys sort of take over and run the programs. But I was just curious how maybe you, Allie, Leandra, if you could answer how you got involved into coding, being girls and being in a room. I'm just curious what your experience was like, and how did you get there? And when did that happen for the two of you?
Sure. Yeah, we both have different stories. So for myself, I found coding after I was working in the fine art and photography field. And I studied computer programming in grad school. So I actually had the opportunity to study amongst like 200 students. It was about 50-50 men and women, and some were new to coding and some were new to art, but had been engineers. So I had this unique experience of being able to kind of bring my art skills and trade those to learn from the engineers and vice versa. And they wanted to learn from me about making more conceptual types of projects. So for me, that was a big influence for the VidCode platform to allow younger kids, you know, before they get to some crazy grad program or undergrad program or anything like that, they can have that experience at any age where you can bring your photography skills or you can bring your illustration or your storytelling skills. Every student has a different, you know, kind of application for that. And so it really opens up the game of, you know, who's bringing their talents into the project. And so going back to the classroom, you know, in groups of girls and boys and everyone teaming up on projects. And sometimes you have that group that loves STEM and they always team up, and the group that's kind of more into another subject area is always teaming up. And so I think really focusing on the conceptual side of the projects and allowing those kids who identify less with STEM to show off their other skills as they move through the coding and the tutorial and the curriculum is a really great way to boost confidence. And we've definitely seen that in our experience with the classrooms, is just investing more of their time into the concept of the project can really help kind of, again, build confidence as you're learning something so foreign, like computer programming language.
I really like how you said that. I also have a daughter that's a freshman in college, and it's her first computer science course that she took this semester. And she's like, I'm just not good at it. And I'm like, you're just not good at it yet. You know? Like, I just need you to hang in there. That's all, you know. So
The tough period.
yeah, it really is, you know. And but I'm happy that she took the risk and she took the course. That's part of it, right? So thank you for sharing that.
So I have a follow-up question. I know that VidCode is offered both for schools and classrooms and also for individuals. Can you talk a little bit about the two different approaches?
Yeah, so we actually started with trying to create a platform and product where kids could come and learn to code on their own. And that's still something that happens. We work with a lot of libraries that offer like the self-guided side of things. But we found that there was a much deeper learning experience in the classroom when there was a teacher there, when there was someone to follow the lesson plans, when there was a group of other students to go to for help, and when there was like a sharing component where they could reflect and talk about and see each other's work. And so I would say like probably 80% of our usage comes from classrooms, and that's where we find certainly like the biggest depth of learning.
Yeah, you know, I just have one more question to ask. I'm just we just started exploring VidCode. We looked at the differing the course that you're offering, and the deal is just that you know there's concern sometimes in you know in districts, you know, about information that's released from students, you know, due to FERPA laws and things of that nature. Are those you know what, you know, when districts ask questions about can maybe this platform, you know, fulfill the criteria required so that we protect students and we also protect teachers in terms of personal information being shared, what's being done by VidCode in order to go ahead and resolve that?
Yeah, so we are very conservative in the ways that we follow those laws. So there are some platforms like Scratch, for example, that follow them a bit more loosely. Like they will show usernames. They don't consider usernames personally identifiable information. We do. So when students sign up to VidCode, they have to create a username. And then we have the option of an email, but it really just serves as a unique identifier. So we never need a real email from students. Or they connect with a school account, like their school's Google or Microsoft account. At that point, the only person that will ever be able to see that data, even if it's not like technically personally identifiable, is the teacher. So students can't see each other's work. If a teacher shares a project, like if a student makes something and a teacher really wants to show it to another teacher, or they want to create a gallery, the students' names aren't on that project. So everything we design is sort of from that like privacy aspect first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I guess I had mentioned to you earlier just about with my account, because I would like to be able to see the students' work, because typically I sit with them to watch them work on VidCode, so I can work that out. But the other thing that I'm interested about is connecting VidCode to like some product that I have in my room, like Makey Makey. Do you have like opportunities or some tutorials on that I could connect, because they're so excited about that also, and to bring the two together I think could be really beneficial. Like we were talking about making a cardboard guitar and using Makey Makey with VidCode.
Cool. Yeah, so that the problem with your account should be fixed now. I sent it to our developer at the beginning of this talk. And we actually have a Makey Makey course, which is a super fun coincidence. And it's so if you go to your just course dashboard, it should be there to assign. It's actually our newest course, and I'm so excited for it because it really helps us with like the networking computer science standards that we were weaker on before. And yeah, we ran like a webinar with the Makey Makey team to announce it, and we've been seeing some really creative projects coming out of that.
Awesome. I'm super excited. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
You know, can I just jump in just real quick? I think you're Leandra and Ali, are you both familiar with the Computer Science Teachers Association standards by chance?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm assuming that there've been the courses you're using are being aligned to those by chance?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be happy to send that document to you after this. We actually started building VidCode when like New York City was first working on its computer science blueprint. So like taking those computer science standards and just like starting to translate them, like how would this work at a state by state level or a district by district level? And that was when we were first starting to build our computer science pathway. So it's been built very much like around those standards at its core.
Thank you.
So thanks, everyone. This has been a great conversation. Alan, Leandra, Art, and Marianne, once again, on behalf of IES, thanks, everyone, for coming. Take care.